Hi everyone, it's Grant Abbott speaking from Lightyear Docs and also I Love SMSF, and I'm very lucky today to be speaking with partner John Grocke from Johnston Grocke in Adelaide. How are you, John?
Yeah, good, Grant. Good, Grant. Thank you for the invitation to chat.
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking a lot about leading members and more importantly, the success you've had with it, how you are finding it, and more importantly, the traps, the pitfalls, and the opportunities. But before we do so, I just want to give a bit of background. I've known you for a long, long time, but that's probably not a good thing. But do you want to just give it a bit of background about yourself and also the practice in Adelaide? Because it's certainly a go-ahead one.
We've yes, we have go back to days when you had association with Rothschild, which is a long, long time ago. Grant, I guess we're about 25 people, diversified financial services firm, have quite a number of self-managed super funds, probably the numbers in excess of 150, and a lot of people who are very concerned about ensuring that money ends up in the right hands at the right time.
Particularly
And we've got,
in Adelaide.
and I guess, sorry, what was that?
Yeah, particularly in Adelaide. No, my old hometown, they're very conservative.
Yeah, they are conservative. And look, blended families are a reality today. And there's no question that people require a deeper conversation about what happens when one or both of key members of a family super fund are no longer there.
And with the leading member, obviously, for those of you who aren't aware of what a leading member is, and the roadshow I just did around Australia, it follows very closely to almost a discretionary trust, where although the trustee pulls all the strings and has full control of the trust and the discretions therein, we've still got underneath that who controls the trust. And so in a similar vein, and so as you said, we've got the typical issues, each member must be a trustee or the director of the corporate trustee. In the past, we try and give way for those people who are senior money in the fund and are still enable families to come in. We've already done proportional voting, whereas the leading member is they're really the person like the appointer in the discretionary trust. The leading member is a person who hires and fires a trustee, has control over membership, so can appoint and remove members, and also has veto powers at any time. So how have you found rolling that out to your clients?
Grant, look, I think there are probably two really strong findings. Number one, we've found that particularly where people are starting to age, one or other of the partners starts to have a greater concern about how the survivor, and let's say statistically the wife is the one who's the survivor. There's a concern about who will stand in behind them should they become a sole director of the corporate trustee with the superannuation fund. So the first thing we find is that it's a very easy conversation to enter into and to get into some depth with people and emotional connection. The second part is we've found that where families have some care, concern and love and affection for each other, there's also a very strong readiness and willingness for the children to have a conversation around a table. And we've actually had great success with family conversations about this, where they're quite happy to stand in behind one or other of the parents, particularly where they're now a widower or widower. And the conversation then leads to how those children can potentially become members of the fund and have an active role in how it is going forward.
Which is, it's always surprised me that that's just not de rigueur for families, given the fact that we all have a lot. Most of us have family trusts. A large percentage have family trusts where children are obviously a major feature. Adult children a major feature of those family trusts, and also grandchildren as well. That just seems to me to be a natural run-of-the-mill things that we should be bringing our children into those funds.
The other thing I would add is that it actually leads or gives us an entree into the next generation, which doesn't always happen with the transition of wealth. It takes a while to build those relationships, and if we can build that relationship around the family fabric and structure, those children who are part of the next generation, in fact, can come on board as clients as well, which is a very positive outcome.
Which is also useful because you're actually putting, you're getting them all to start to work out. It almost becomes, I suppose, I was reading an article the other day, the big thing over in the US at the moment is the creation of a living will. And the purpose of that is the disposition of assets prior to a person's death in one way, shape or form, or as best as controlled as possible, so that it doesn't go through the normal channels of probate and get challenged. So we're in quite a unique position, I think, particularly from what you're doing around that, is starting to engage the whole family and look at where the control flows through them.
The other part that I would probably just mention, Grant, is that it does give families, and particularly the older members of the families, much greater certainty and confidence that their interests will be catered for and that they've got a friendly party who's there to actually take over if they lose capacity. I would probably say the capacity piece for a sole director, whether it be a widower or widow, has actually been an even stronger conversation with the family, where suddenly they have a sense of support that they otherwise didn't have because they've lost their partner.
That's quite an interesting one, because just on my back of the hand calculations, that we've probably got around about 150 to 160,000 SMSFs that are sole members, which to me is a crazy position, because naturally the succession planning is there.
That would be the obvious place to have that deeper conversation, and for the sole director to effectively have that certainty that it's not going to necessarily be dissipated in a way that they would not prefer to happen if it went through normal probate and state legislation.
So obviously you've changed a lot in the last year. What do you think the change was? What in your psyche? So obviously there's a lot of people listening in here that, what was the one thing that really changed you, and more importantly has led to the successful implementation of this holistic family solution?
It's always, I think the thing that was sitting in the back of my mind is, how can we best help people that get to that situation, either where capacity is diminishing, and it becomes obvious when you're dealing with people that confusion, reduced capacity becomes very evident. So that was probably one of the things, understanding what we could do from there. There was another catalyst to this, and that was, we have quite a few lifetime pensions, which are no longer possible in family super funds, but those lifetime pensions, we had a particular structure to convert those to a market-based pension just minutes before a person died, so that effectively what had been accrued could pass back to other members in the fund. And that was a little bit complex. So this solution is a far better solution, and it's a solution that actually brings the family together.
And obviously one of the aspects, we are talking about self-managed, but really it goes across not only that, but will cover, family trusts, succession, and also what happens in terms of wills and testamentary trusts.
I think we've all seen it if we've been dealing with people for a period of time. Estates are challenged. There are disgruntled beneficiaries, and I think all of this being separated, or the ability to separate this under, and I think this was one of the things that you demonstrated to me, which was really a catalyst, I guess, as well. The fact that superannuation fits under the superannuation regulations, it's Commonwealth law based, which has a much stronger certainty around it than the ambit claim that can occur through the state-based legislation with an estate. So that certainty and the fact that Commonwealth law has very strongly, or superannuation has embedded in it the best interest test, was a watershed moment to understand that that's something that can actually create that greater certainty.
And look, at the end of the day, I mean, we're both getting up there and we've got our own children as well. So, I mean, how have you're probably like me, I just redrafted my own enduring power of attorney today, and my daughter comes up from Melbourne this weekend, and we'll be going through the process with her and what's required around the enduring power of attorney and what I want, what I don't want, and she'll sign. So it is quite gratifying as a parent to be able to speak consciously and you know, bring the children into that process.
It's look, I agree with that, and in the case of our kids, we've already got one son, and in our case, his wife has joined the fund as well. They're now, as a family, a beneficiary of the fund because we're supporting one of the grandchildren with a pension. And so it's enabled us to create something special in that sense. The other thing is, in my case, my wife Margaret would prefer not to step in, if I'm not here, step into that authoritative role. And therefore, Adam is more than happy to stand in behind her. Her mother, just to give you a little bit of further information, suffered dementia over a 5-year journey. Not a pleasant disease. And should Margaret have that journey, she needs to know and have certainty that someone's going to stand behind her. And we've been able to establish that, which is good.
And that's good. And so when you're dealing with the clients and you're going through the fee proposal side of the equation, how have you found that?
We've adopted... We've actually, interestingly, how have we found it? People have really challenged the fee that we're talking about. And just to give you an idea, where people are paying us an ongoing retainer, and we tend to, in our business, operate with clients on a group fee. They might be dealing with our business services, accounting division, the financial planning. So they will pay us one quarterly fee, which covers all of the work we're doing. So many of those clients are quite substantial. And what we do with them is we offer the upgrade to the leading member structure if it's a family super fund for 3,000 plus GST. Where it's a brand new client, we're doing it for 6,000 plus GST now. And maybe we're undercharging, but we really haven't had pushback on that, and people have been very satisfied with the outcome. And if I reflect on this, I think that's very much about people seeing the value in what we're bringing as a strategy to the table and the certainty that that's creating in their mind.
Well, certainly in my dealings in this area and for many years dealing with trustees, you're really hitting the big three for most of your clients usually is the things that are most important in their life is obviously their family, having a secure income stream, not only during their life but into retirement, and health. And it's health not only of themselves but also obviously all of their families. So that if you come in at that angle, it actually puts you in a pretty unique position because you're there looking after their family, and hence that leads to this concept of the trusted advisor, not only just for one generation but multi-generations.
There's no question about that. I think the other thing that resonates is the fact that we have had numbers of children who have anything from 300,000 to where some older clients have been it's been the case to 1.5 million that they bought into the superannuation fund because they actually want to be involved in that structure. And not only have they saved some costs compared with where they are, but we've been able to, and I think you might even touch on this, we've been able to run different investor profiles effectively using BGL and using investment policy statement structures, which means we can tailor it to suit. It's worked exceptionally well. And we've in many cases had children ask us without us really pushing that in the first instance about what it'd look like if they joined the fund.
That's great. I mean, it's really a bespoke family vehicle, and I've been in one since 1994 with my parents. I just thought it was everyone would do it, but it's quite funny how the accounting profession and to a greater extent the planning profession have sort of pushed back against it because they have this feeling that people don't want to engage their family, when if you ask the family, it's actually the reverse.
It is very much the reverse. And Grant, I just reflect back on that earlier comment. I do believe it's probably more challenging in a disrupted family. But where you have really good family relationships, there's no question that mum and dad want to see accumulated wealth flow to their children and their grandchildren. So it just sits so strongly with that. And everybody's heard of the story where relationships change and wealth is dissipated, which is out of their control.
Yeah. The other side is that I think is quite unique, and particularly next release of the Lightyear Docs platform is going to be the ability to do wills and testamentary trusts, and you'll be in control of that whole process, which again, it's just getting that fact find, putting it into the platform, and then being able to get Tony to sign off for Tony from Abbott-Family, not a very expensive process, but it means that you're the lead advisor and actually control it, instead of seeing it being dissipated and broken by going out to other solicitors who potentially don't know much around SMSFs.
It's an area that is not commonly dealt with in any depth by the legal profession, and I think it is certainly now and at least into the future a very niche opportunity, and one that can add significant value.
I know. And your profile of just sort of clients, so how many SMSFs do you have, and how many family trusts and also companies? And you certainly go ahead tax practice in tax and wealth creation practice in Adelaide.
We've had this approach of trying to bring together different services under one roof, and look, I think this is probably pretty common now. It wasn't when we started the process. We would have collectively, and we don't look after all of the superannuation funds we deal with across the business. There'd probably be 200. I would probably have involvement with at least 150 of those. The other thing is with trusts, we would certainly have in excess of 150 of those. Some are small, some are larger. We have some testamentary trusts where children are now benefiting from the fact that income can be distributed without with the concessional tax threshold. So we've got a lot of people where there's wealth that will need to be advised on into the long term for this generation and for the next generation.
Yeah, and look, I know from your practice and your tax partners, etc., you were ex-ClearDocs users and you jumped in, becoming one of our first licensees, which has been useful. How have you found that process? And I must give you credit that you have helped us a lot in terms of making suggestions around documents, additions, where we're very flexible about doing that.
Andrew Brown, who's the principal accounting partner in the firm, did have a few challenges initially because ClearDocs is a pretty systematised process, and they like the efficiency of that. They've now come on board and we have fully transitioned to light gear docks and it's working really well. So there were probably a few, because we were sort of at the bleeding edge a bit, there were probably a few things that needed to be provided in addition to when it was first launched. But look, they're on board now and they're very happy with it, and they use it and will continue to use it in the way that they use ClearDocs. And they were generating many documents out of ClearDocs, and we'll do that out of light gear docs now.
Oh, which is much better for you anyway, because the fees now go to you guys rather than ClearDocs.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
So
and the platform, and Grant, I was just going to say, and the platform does work well.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And so going down the next 12 months and your business plan, which I know you may not have a formal one, but I do know you guys have spent a lot of time. What do you see coming down just generally, without giving away the goodies, as to where your focus will be and upside and downside?
One of the obvious things in South Australia is the fact that land tax is a pretty hot topic at the moment, and the government have moved back a bit from the position they were going to take, but bringing commercial property into a family superannuation fund is a bit of, or business real property is a bit of a no-brainer, given that we haven't got stamp duty in South Australia on business or commercial property. So that's a pretty important area that we're going to push into. We're actually talking to a couple of organisations that support people who have had serious injury and who are probably vulnerable from a financial point of view, who need to ensure the structure around the financial capital that they've got is appropriate and there for them for the longer term. Yeah. So we think that this theme around trusts and the leading trustee structure will actually be very beneficial in supporting some of that early work that we're going to do there.
That's fantastic. So, look, I know you're always very innovative and always looking for new things. And look, you're certainly a leading light as far as I'm concerned in Australia. And I can come up with a lot of the ideas, but you're right there practicing, getting the feedback and all that. And I know that there's a lot of people who'd love to, follow your path. So we certainly will catch up again. But if anyone wants to catch up with you and just bounce a few ideas off you, what's the best way to contact you?
The best way would be just to call our office and just arrange for a time to spend a few minutes on the phone. So the number's 8300 3030. So if people ring, I'm happy to give them a bit of time, or if they want to email me, John, JOHN @jgg.com.au.
Okay, well that's great. Well, thanks a lot for your time. I know you're a very busy person. You're probably off to do a seminar or something, but look, your time is really appreciated, and I know that everyone on the podcast will really get a lot out of it. And again, I think it's not something you procrastinate on and sit back and wait. There's an opportunity there with, as you said, the incapacity with the one-member funds. $300 billion switching over the next 15 or 20 years out of SMSFs alone. So there's certainly a lot of opportunity there. While everyone else is navel gazing, the best strategists come out and really stand to the fore. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thanks, Grant. And it is an area that I think will get plenty of traction where people have got good relationships with clients, and clients will see it as a high value add.
And that at the end of the day, that's what they're for. They're our clients and we're there to look after them, not the other way around.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thanks a lot for that, John.
Yeah, good. Thanks, Grant. Bye for now.
Bye.